I had just graduated from college and was interviewing at a new company when they suddenly had an international call and urgently needed someone with advanced English skills. I happened to meet their requirements, so even though I was in the middle of an interview, I was called in to take notes for the conference call. They said everything was almost ready. Almost done. Lucas Liu, who is extremely picky, was very satisfied after seeing my performance and decided to make me his secretary, even though I had applied for a project investment role. Leo Liu insisted that I should start as a secretary first and told me I could transfer positions later after getting into the company. He said once they found a suitable replacement, they would move me to the project department. I was worried they might never find the right person, but Leo Liu promised that I would do this for at most 3 years. Being a secretary was not the position I wanted, but I still worked diligently for 3 whole years. Today was my last day as Lucas Liu's secretary, and I wanted to finish strong, even enduring my stomach pain to accompany him to the award ceremony. After seeing that all of today's tasks were completed, I finally found a moment to message Lucas Liu, preparing to bring up my request to transfer. But at that exact moment, Lucas Liu called me and told me to quickly book a restaurant because we were going to eat soon. "How many people for the private room?" I asked. "Just the 2 of us." I was incredibly happy inside, thinking he had specially invited me to dinner to discuss my transfer, but instead, he gave me a limited edition bag. He said it was a reward for my 3 years as his secretary and wanted me to continue working with him, even promising to double my salary. But I wasn't interested in any of that, because my dream was to become an investment professional. When I was a child, my dad worked so hard to develop a battery in his factory, but because he couldn't find investors, the company went bankrupt. We had to use our house to pay off debts, and from that moment on, I was determined to become an investor. I didn't want capable entrepreneurs to end up like my dad, but Lucas Liu didn't understand my belief and said I was only suited to be a secretary. He said this job was easy, just making coffee, delivering documents, and making phone calls, and that with my current workload, the salary I was getting was already very good. He even asked, "What other position could be as easy as yours?" Easy? What part of this is easy? He kept talking, saying that even if I occasionally worked overtime, it was just making calls or sending messages, nothing difficult. The more he talked, the angrier I became. I finished an entire glass of red wine in one go and insisted that he come to my place, even though he initially refused. In the past 3 years, I had never made a single request of him. Today, this was my only request. The next moment, we arrived at my apartment. As we got out of the car, Sam, the driver, asked Lucas Liu whether he should wait or come back later. "Of course you wait here," Lucas Liu replied. Sam said he understood nothing and told him not to worry. Lucas Liu even added that if he didn't come down in an hour, Sam should call the police. Only then did he follow me upstairs with the bag. When he entered, he saw how messy my apartment was. It didn't look like a girl's home at all. And that was exactly why I brought him here, because my place was filled with his things, work files and even his clothes. This wasn't just a home anymore, it was basically his second office. But Lucas Liu didn't see it that way and instead said it was because my work efficiency was low that I had to bring work home. I was completely speechless. I told him I came to this company to work on projects, and if I stayed as his secretary any longer, my career would be ruined. He coldly replied that if I wanted to work on projects at his company, I could wait until my next life. I never expected him to say something like that, and my stomach started hurting again from anger, but he accused me of pretending. I couldn't take it anymore. I pushed him out the door, threw his shoes after him, and even returned the bag he gave me. At that moment, I felt there was no point in continuing like this, so in a fit of anger, I wrote a resignation letter. But before submitting it, I still wanted to try one last time to convince him to let me transfer. Lucas Liu gave me only 2 choices: either continue being his secretary properly, or leave everything behind and go home. After 3 years of working as his secretary, My request to transfer clearly angered him, and he repeated those same two options to me. Either stay and be his secretary, or forget everything and leave. He thought I would never actually leave the company, but to his surprise, I immediately took out my resignation letter. I quit. That completely caught him off guard. As I was packing my things and getting ready to leave, he stormed over to me angrily. "Get out." In that moment, I was stunned. I had worked tirelessly by his side for 3 years, and this was how Lucas Liu treated me. "What do you mean?" "I'll get out to the project department." "The project department?" Lucas Liu then gave me 1 month. If I couldn't handle the work after 1 month, I would have to come back and continue being his secretary. But 1 month was far too short for me. I told him I needed 4 months. He refused and pushed it down to 1.5 months. Finally, with Ethan Zhang acting as a mediator, we settled on 3 months, which I found acceptable. But Lucas Liu cut it down again. 2 months. Don't push your luck. Do you dare or not? Deal. In the end, we reached an agreement with a 2-month deadline. After 3 years, I had finally gotten what I wanted. That night, I told my best friend the good news, and she was genuinely happy for me, even joking that my boss might be harsh, but at least he came through at a critical moment. If I hadn't fought so hard for it, I would probably still be stuck as Lucas Liu's little secretary. Early the next morning, I handed over my work to Ryan and went to report to Kevin Chiu in the project department, thinking I could finally do the work I truly loved. I thought I would finally get a chance to prove myself here. But reality was completely different. Either they didn't assign me any real work, or they just made me organize materials. And not just any materials, but all the company's project files since its founding. It was work that would normally take 3 days, but they told me to finish it by tomorrow. "This isn't urgent. Just give it to me tomorrow." "Do you need help?" "No, I'm fine." So while everyone else got off work, I stayed behind working overtime, organizing all the documents. Lucas Liu happened to see this when he was leaving work, and he couldn't resist mocking me. "Is this the kind of work Kevin Chiu gave you? Looks to me like you just changed departments but are still doing a secretary's job." But to me, it was completely different, because my destination had changed. As he left, he didn't forget to remind me. "You have 57 days left." I was so angry I almost threw a pen at him, but I stopped when I noticed Sophia Su nearby. She had always had feelings for Lucas Liu. When she found out I had left my secretary position and joined the project department, she immediately saw an opportunity. She had always clung to Lucas Liu, impossible to shake off, so he decided to give her a 1-day trial as his secretary. 1 day? Oh right, I suddenly remembered, I'm actually not in a rush. Afraid she might cling to him again, he quickly made his escape. Meanwhile, I completed the task Frank Feng gave me early in the morning, and I did it both quickly and well. Frank Feng had no choice but to assign me more work, but he didn't actually want me to stay in the company. So he deliberately gave me the RV camp project and told me to evaluate it. What I didn't know was that this project actually belonged to Sophia Su. I even paid for a ride myself to go conduct field research for the project. This was also the first time in 3 years that Lucas Liu didn't see me anywhere in the company, and Ryan quickly explained that I had gone out to evaluate a project. Did I ask about that? Lucas Liu responded coldly. Yes. Which project? Sophia Su's RV camp project. Lucas Liu didn't say anything after hearing that. But when Sophia Su found out that I had been assigned to her project, she was furious and immediately went to confront Kevin Chiu. "Are you looking down on my project?" she demanded. "Why would you assign me and Eng to it? Does she even know how to evaluate a project?" Kevin Chiu defended me by saying that I was someone Lucas Liu valued and that I should be capable of handling it. Sophia Su snapped back that Lucas Liu valued my ability as a secretary, not as someone who could work on projects. I heard every single word of that conversation. The more they looked down on me, the more determined I became to prove myself. I confidently promised Sophia Sue that I would deliver a qualified report. Since I had already said that, she could only leave angrily. Meanwhile, they arranged for me to present at the next day's meeting, hoping to push me out faster, even though I had no experience. Frank Fung reminded me that the 2-month deadline would pass quickly and asked if I really wanted to leave the company just like that. Since this was my first time presenting, I went home and practiced all night. I practiced so late that I overslept the next morning. It wasn't until I received a call from Frank Fung urging me that I rushed over in a panic. I quickly apologized, dropped my bag, and instinctively went to make coffee, which left everyone in the office stunned. "Is the boss not here yet?" someone joked. They said my body must still be stuck in secretary mode. Working on projects while still acting like a secretary, maybe the pressure was just too much for me. In my rush to report on the project, I even started making coffee in the meeting room, confusing everyone even more. Only after Lucas Liu and Victor Scher reminded me did I snap back to reality and begin my presentation. Based on my investigation over the past few days, I concluded that the RV camp project was not suitable for investment. That immediately angered Victor Scher, who slammed the table and stood up. "I worked so hard to secure this project, and you're dismissing it with just a few words? Who do you think you are? A secretary who just joined the project department, acting like an expert?" Not a single person in the meeting room spoke up for me. Instead, Kevin Chiu continued to suppress me. He said that the region of the RV camp project would receive future government support and subsidies, information I hadn't uncovered. I pointed out that this information hadn't even been officially announced yet. But in the end, it was still considered my failure. As I was leaving, Lucas Liu added another blow. "You can't even handle something this simple. You really are only suited to be a secretary." My confidence, which had been so strong before, completely collapsed in that moment. When I went to the break room to pour some water, I overheard Frank Fung and the others talking. Kevin Chiu really knows how to shift the blame. That was a brilliant move. That's when I realized I had been used as a scapegoat. And the one happiest about this outcome was Lucas Liu. They believed that sooner or later, I would give up and ask to return to my secretary position. Lucas Liu even had Ethan Zhang quickly push Sophia Sue out of the role, preparing to make room for me again. Unexpectedly, Sophia Sue actually called early in the morning to say she quit. Lucas Liu immediately told Ryan to clear out her things, ready to welcome me back. I stayed up all night writing a proposal and brought it to Kevin Chiu first thing in the morning. But when he heard it was a project that had previously been rejected, he immediately became impatient and said he would look at it when he had time. That night, I finally waited until he got off work to ask about the project again. He still insisted that the project wasn't worth investing in, even though the other side kept calling to push for progress. They were even willing to give up 10% of their shares. Seeing such a good opportunity, I didn't want to miss it. So I went directly to Lucas Liu to report the project and even brought him something thoughtful. But he rejected me outright and even criticized me for rushing to report. He said I wasn't even working in investment anymore. I was furious and argued back that I wasn't meant to be a secretary either, yet I had still spent 3 years working by his side. He coldly dismissed my words, implying that being a secretary required no real skill. That completely humiliated me. With no way to push the project forward, I went home and vented my frustration by boxing. Then my best friend said something that completely changed my perspective. "If you want to push a project forward, besides your boss, who else can you go to?" That line woke me up instantly. So I went directly to Daniel Ren and told him I was willing to give up my commission just to get this project moving. He thought the project was promising and immediately reported it to higher management. Soon after, someone informed Lucas Liu that Daniel Ren had documents that needed his urgent approval. Lucas Liu seemed annoyed, saying it should have just been sent to him directly. Not long after, I received a call from Daniel Ren telling me that the project had been approved. I was overjoyed and immediately called the client company. But they told me someone had already come to handle the deal. It was a director with the last name Chiu. Kevin Chiu? Yes, that's him. I was completely stunned. I never expected him to act one way in public and another behind the scenes. Furious, I rushed back to the company to confront him. Didn't you say this project wasn't worth investing in? But he denied everything and claimed the project had been introduced by a friend. You stole my project, why won't you admit it? All the hard work I had put into the project had been taken by someone else. I finally gathered evidence and went to Lucas Liu, hoping he would stand up for me. I even told him about Kevin Chiu taking kickbacks. But after looking at the evidence, Lucas Liu responded coldly. You're in the investment department, just focus on doing your job well. He said I had been there for so long without successfully completing a single project. Even though this project had clearly been taken from me, he refused to let me bring up Kevin Chiu again. He told me to stop worrying about others and just focus on my own work. I had always believed that although Lucas Liu had a bad temper, he was someone who stood by his principles and wouldn't tolerate wrongdoing. But now I realized that I had completely misjudged him over the past 3 years. It became clear to me that he had never truly intended to let me work on projects. He just wanted me to fail and return to being his secretary. Yet he accused me of being narrow-minded and blaming others for my own incompetence. Before coming to him, I still held on to a small hope. But at that moment, Lucas Liu became the final straw that broke me. I made my decision. I was going to resign.